I was first introduced to the idea of glaciers when I was about 10 years old, and I went on a camping trip with my family to Mount Kosciuszko National Park. And there was all this hype about this Blue Lake Glacier. And when we got there, I was actually disappointed to see that it was nothing more than a dismal pond. And they rely on this technique, much like volcanoes, for example. They can just point out a hill or a mountain and say that's an inactive volcano, much like they will point out these lakes and ponds in places like Colorado and Mount Kosciuszko and tell you it's a glacier. Okay, now you will see images of these Alaskan glaciers, and you will notice the contrast difference between the snow and this electric blue type styrofoam slash fiberglass, and you can tell the difference in the contrast that they're nothing more than landscaping projects. You can even see the bulldozer tracks in the background, and you're not allowed to go and touch these glaciers. Okay, even in bright, sunny, hot days in Alaska, these glaciers aren't melting, even though the snow's melting, and you can just tell that they're 100% fake. Now, a lot of this stuff exists in non-existent space as well. They will tell you there's glaciers on Mars and volcanoes on the moon, and they roll with this idea that they justify one lie with another lie when it's out of sight. And a lot of the glacier hoax is designed to push the climate change idea and the ice age and the meteorites, and it goes into this giant fake religion. It doesn't make sense that you can just determine something is 10,000 years old or millions of years old when you don't have anything to go by. You don't have a gauge to determine that. And you only need to go and have a look at these melting glaciers, these videos of them, and you'll see in the comments the agenda, all these trolls and shills pushing this climate change idea. Okay, the Alaska, the glacier in Colorado, this St. Mary's Lake is just a lake, and that's all it is. And it's the same with this little pond in Mount Kosciuszko, and they take people on these tours in boats in Alaska to see these giant landscaping projects. And while we're on this topic, will also expose avalanches for the sham they are. If you go and watch videos of these so-called avalanches, you will notice it for the CGI and the fakery that it is. Okay, you don't uh, you don't hear this roaring sound of thousands and millions of kilos of ice hurling down a mountain. It's just some guy with a camera standing there filming it, much like the war nonsense. Okay, he's just standing there completely still, filming this avalanche like, hurling towards him. And a lot of this stuff goes into the Mount Everest lie as well. They stage a lot of fatalities through these so-called non-existent avalanches and landslides, for example. National Geographic Channel is just it's a they use CGI like a lot to justify it. It's all done like on a computer, and they display it through the television, and none of it's real. So the main agenda for the glacier hoax and the Antarctica nonsense is just to push this giant fake religion regarding climate change and the the ice age nonsense. Okay, here in Australia we have the Great Barrier Reef, and they'll justify climate change through a bunch of divers going in and just poisoning all the coral, and then they tell you it's because the weather's warming up. And once you put the pieces together, you will see it all falls into place, and you will see this all of this fakery for what it is, and why they need to invent these psyops like Antarctica and grow and create these landscaping projects in Alaska that you're not allowed to actually go and see. You will notice the electric blue, this neon so-called ice, and you just go along like on some boat on some tour and take photos of it. And the footage, if you go on YouTube and see these electric blue glaciers, the breaking apart, you will notice it's all just CGI and National Geographic fakery.